Welcome to another podcast, Looking Within. My name's Tony O'Shaughnessy. I'm a substance abuse counselor. And today, I'm just going to try to break down thought from a very fundamental standpoint, help people understand where their experience is coming from. I'm going to try to break it down as simply as possible and help you all to understand how this understanding can help you in your life. So first, we need to understand that the inextricable relationship that thoughts have with feelings, that thoughts and feelings are inextricably linked. They're always connected. They're never not. You can't have a feeling without a thought, and you can't have a thought without a feeling. And so depending on the content and the quality of my thinking in the moment, that's going to dictate how I feel. If I'm thinking about my retirement plan, for example, or the mortgage I've got to pay monthly, I tend to feel a little bit anxious. Now, I know that it's not the mortgage or the retirement plan that's making me feel anxious. I know where my experience is coming from. It's coming from my thinking in the moment. The idea about understanding where your feelings are coming from is that we want to start developing an entirely new relationship with our feelings. Basically, we want to become less attached to them and not necessarily feel the need to change or fix them, to do anything with them other than just acknowledge and be aware of. This is where the consciousness piece plays in, but just being aware of the fact that we're feeling a certain way because of the content and quality of our thinking in that moment. Now, if we don't like the way we feel, we have free will to do what we want with our thoughts. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. We can think whatever thoughts we want. Now, we can't control necessarily the thoughts that come into our heads. There are so many a day, and we do have some unwanted thoughts. But we do have control over the ones we give power to. Do we turn up the volume? Do we hold on tightly to them? Or do we let them flow through? Do we leave them alone? And so now that I've developed this new relationship with my feelings, I'm less attached to the way that I feel because I know it's just based on my thinking and somewhat empowering. I have the power to choose the thoughts I want to spend time on, the ones I want to play a real presence in my life. And I know now that I don't need to entertain all the negative, intrusive thoughts that come up day to day, moment to moment. With this, we see how we as human beings create a lot of our own suffering day to day. And we do that through needless worry. Our minds tend to drift almost invariably into worry. When things get quiet on the outside, we know they tend to get a little bit noisier on the inside. Sometimes we replay old stories in our head. For example, an argument we had earlier in the day with our spouse or our boss. And then when we see our friend, we tell them all about that argument and we re-experience all those feelings. Then later on, we call our mother and we share with her the argument, and we tend to feel all those feelings again, only because we're thinking about that argument. When we think about the argument, we re-experience all these feelings. It's not the person in the argument that's making me feel a certain way, but my thinking about that argument in that situation. And in between all those times that we share the story with other people, we think about them on our own time. We don't even say them out loud. And so throughout our day, you see, we create a lot of our own suffering. We re-experience those feelings all throughout our day. And what we learn about thought and our feelings is that we don't need to spend any more time with them. We leave them alone. And that's the real simplicity involved in this understanding. There's nothing really to do with our feelings or our thinking. We just leave them alone. I want to point out to folks that the lifespan of a thought is merely as long as we think it. Again, we have free will to do what we want. So, do we continue to create more suffering, or do we make the choice to not entertain all the negative, intrusive thinking we do day to day? It's our choice. I want to thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for our next podcast.